Hey folks, you're hey folks, hey folks, folks, hey folks, folks, hey folks, hey folks, folks, you're hey folks.
Hello out there in Packer Nation. Welcome to another edition of the Absolute Packer Podcast, where we are going to go over the close win, near loss, but close win, Packers over the 49ers at Lambeau Field. I think we're going to title this podcast Lethargy at Lambeau because I would say from the start of the game till damn near the finish, the 49ers wanted this game more. You know, you could just see it on the field. You could see it in the body language. You could see it in almost anything. But that damn Aaron Rodgers, he is something else. The 2-minute drill with him he might be the best of all time. It's just incredible what that guy can do when under that kind of pressure. So, yeah, 33 to 30. You know, a win is a win, but you know, I'm not exactly sure. And we're going into a bye, so that's good. You know, every team needs to heal up. But man, this one big time, because who knows how far Aaron Rodgers' knee can get in the bye. But to be perfectly honest with you guys, I mean, there's a lot of flaws. There's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of, you know, identity things where even coming out of the bye, who are they going to be? But that's kind of looking forward. We can take a look at this game. So what are your guys' thoughts on this game?
No, I was gonna kind of hit on your first subject was how we start the game so slow. And I mean, out of the 6 games thus far, except for Buffalo, we have come out of the gate and had our backs up against a wall. And that's the most concerning part to me, because a good team comes out and throws the first punch. We're on the other end of a Tyson uppercut every single game, it seems. And is that troublesome? Yes, it is. Is it correctable? It sure is. And I think after looking at, after Andy's little positivity speech that he had, I looked a little bit more in depth into this team, and I found some really good stuff because I'm a statistical person. So when I looked into that, I was like, wow, this team, what it's telling me is this team is shooting themselves in the foot too much with penalties. I mean, they're 3rd in the league in penalties total. Execution wise, I mean, if you know anything about X's and O's and football in general, you can see that this offense just lags because on certain downs, you know, guys aren't getting open, and they're passing the ball 70% of the time. So that's a troublesome thing. And on defense, the execution there is lacking as well, because we don't have a pass rush up front. So we're not getting to the quarterback. Then the back end, our safeties are just, you know, they're kind of supposed to be the law enforcement of the team. You know, they're supposed to protect. And are they protecting our back end? No. And anybody that says that they are, please come forward and show me any corroborating evidence that says the safeties at Clinton Dix and Kentrell Bryce are actually holding this defense together. So that's my take on it. And I think the other thing too is the special teams is killing this team. We had another penalty last night. Ty Montgomery had a great kickoff return. I think it was over 50 yards, and it was called back because of a hold again. It happened in Detroit when Montgomery had a 64-yard kickoff return called back because of a hold. Penalties are just killing this team on tremendously important plays. And those are correctable. That's the positive, is all these things are very much a correctable part of this team. And I'm hoping that in the bye week, this is something that they really focus on. And Mike McCarthy alluded to it today, that he is not happy with how this team has progressed as far as becoming a less turnover prone team, and execution wise, they're just not executing. So I hope this bye fits perfectly to where they are self-reflective and they correct all these things and come out after the bye against the Rams and just come out flying. So that's my take on it, as I think there's a lot of correctable stuff here, and I think there are a lot of positives, and I think it's all just shooting themselves in the foot. So
yeah,
penalties. penalties and turnovers, all correctable stuff. I feel like I went through every emotion last night, partly because we had the Brewers on in the other screen. So
That's right.
I absolutely did have every possible Wisconsin emotion last night. So, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't have cable. I had to sit here with my little digital antenna and like stand all weird and hold it one way to get reception for the Packers. I had to do the whole thing where I hadn't been in my house in a while, and so I had to do like you run the digital channel search. I had to do it like 8 times to find Fox. So when I was sitting here watching, I'm like, well, it's here somewhere, but I can't see it. So I lost like the first 5 minutes of the game. And then to your point, I was following the Brewers on Twitter because I don't have any other cable. So it was kind of strange going back and forth. But yeah, you know what? I don't know what you guys think, but anytime special teams like on a kickoff or punt return, and I'm talking on either, whether it's the Packers or the opposition, if there's a big gain, I'm almost every time going, it's going to get called back.
Yes.
Either side. Either side, you know?
Absolutely. I'm just screaming at them. Anytime if they're not catching it in the end zone, I'm like, you should just drop. It should be a fair catch. You should leave it alone. There's just no point. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you're at the 1 yard line or something, but you know, if you catch it at anywhere from the 10 to the 30, you're good. Why are you messing with it?
Yeah, I guess what's frustrating is if you do have a guy who's savvy on stuff like that, and say he has like a 60-yard return, anytime a guy gets past, we'll say like the 30-yard line, I'm like, it's going to get called back. It's going to get called back. And again, that's right.
If that's his only talent, trade him because it's not a useful skill. Honestly, like there's no point. It doesn't work. We end up getting pushed back to the 30 at best anyway. Like and that's, you're right. It's any team. It's not just the Packers.
Yeah, and I believe that most teams, including the Packers, the core of the special teams, it's the bottom end of the roster. You may have some guys in there that are pretty good, but they're not going to put exposed guys out there to that kind of running and smashing. They're not going to throw like a Randall Cobb or these other high-end guys out there in special. I could be wrong, but for the most part, it's that bottom end of the roster they're not quite as savvy. They're not quite as fast or whatever. So
that's a great point, because if you couple the injuries with the success, it ain't worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And that the kickoff / punt returns, it feels like it's going the way of the dodo right now, which I don't agree with, because those are some of the really fun plays. I mean, do guys get smashed with a lot of penalties? Yeah, but I mean that's a very exciting part of the game. So. But yeah, I mean, penalties on. Did you see that special teams penalty where like the guy for the 49ers, he took a knee, and there was a penalty on the Packers after he took a knee, like for some weird special team, and because he goes, oh, they declined a penalty, and I go, well, wait a minute, he took a knee in the end zone. I'm like, your special teams is really screwed up if they're getting penalties when a guy takes a knee in the end zone to bring it out to the 25.
Right. And it's on both sides of special teams. It's on coverage as well as returns, because here we are in the fourth quarter last night, a big kickoff return. We just came off of a touchdown, and we tied the ball game, and Tony Brown pushes a guy. Yeah. Literally, he was yards out of bounds, and he decides to be a little bit too aggressive. Yeah. I'm to the point where it's like, you know what, dude? You're a practice squad jag, as Andy likes to refer to you.
Just a guy, gone. Jag.
You're gone.
You're gone.
He should go. I mean, those guys should be gone.
He should be gone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, to some of this point, I don't know how the Packers always seem to be one of the most injured teams in the league every year. Maybe some of that's true, but some of that's just it just seems that way. This year, I'm not sure, but maybe they're just in the middle of the pack. Maybe they don't have a whole lot, so maybe it's just like they're so injured, like we can't afford to kick this St. Brown guy or whatever to the curb. But one thing, I'm shifting gears though to the offense. One thing I really liked, and I was stunned when I saw it, was I can't remember if it was the first drive or the second drive, but McCarthy he had bunch stacks, receivers on the left. He was doing this deception. He ran a bootleg out to the left, and then he ran like this wheel route that left this guy wide open. They were scheming guys open. It had been games, let alone almost seasons, since I've seen this. And I mean, they marched right down the field, which I guess some of that is if they're unscouted looks and all that, as they call it, and the 49ers are prepared for it. That's good. But that got them points really early. And then after, like I guess any team can adjust, it seems like the Packers went back to the same old junk where, and this is what, for the life of me, I just can't understand. You have the best player / quarterback. Now, granted, he's hurt on one knee, and you are struggling to move the ball in offense. It just baffles me that it's so hard to get yardage with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand it.
Well, I can kind of relate it to you in one way. The game has predicated it. Anytime that McCarthy gets down, even by a small, if it's 10 points, 10-point difference, he abandons the run and just solely, strictly, relies on Aaron Rodgers to carry this team. That is the problem with this team right now, is they're just not running the ball enough. I mean, they've only had 130 some carries so far this year, and it's like in the bottom third of the league. So the game, because we've come out of the gate in almost 5 out of 6 games, and we fell behind the 8 ball. We got our backs put up against the wall, and McCarthy does not like that. And he goes to what he considers to be the only way to get back in. And that's putting the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands and just having him wing it. The problem, though, is that you're putting him at peril because he's back to pass more. He's running more.
And they know he's going to pass.
And the blocking is not as right. And the blocking is not as good. It's not as tight as it has been in years past. So he's getting hit significantly a lot more than he has in any other year. And he also has 5 fumbles so far this year, which is
that's insane
in his career.
That is insane.
I mean, McCarthy could do a lot here to help him out. And relating back to your point about the beginning of the game, how many times have we seen a 3 tight end set on Montgomery's touchdown? And it confused the 49ers. I mean, they were racing, trying to get guys over to the left side of the field. And Montgomery caught the ball, and he went in untouched into the end zone. We never seen a play like that by McCarthy in I don't know how long. So it was a very creative game plan. And it also caught off the 49ers off base there. They were not prepared for it. So McCarthy needs to heed that and look at that tape and say, wow, I found something here, and he needs to really kind of spiral off of that and make his playbook a little bit more dynamic in that respect.
Yeah, and they got a guy named Aaron Jones who is, I mean, he's like a pocket Bernie Sanders, it seems, is the best way to call that guy. And I think, now, again, I did see there was a play where they rolled him out and they tried to chuck a little pass in the flat, and he dropped it. And, I mean, apparently in McCarthy's offense, that's just, you're going for timeout, you're done. Now, is it good that you dropped the pass? No, but I think he went from 7 carries to 8 carries. So he gained 1 more carry. Have you seen this guy? Well, obviously you guys, this guy is a talent. He can run. He is another play. I would say behind Aaron Rodgers, he is your best playmaker, and he's sitting him on the bench for, this like nebulous kind of, well, he's not the best pass blocker, and he needs to do this, needs to do that. That's all fine and dandy, but, I mean, he's a playmaker, and you got to find a way to get him on the field. You got to, and give him more carries.
Why do you suppose that's not happening?
What's that?
Why do you think that's not happening?
The only thing I can think of is that McCarthy is very stubborn unless it's a trick question. McCarthy, and I would say to some extent Rodgers, is very stubborn. If you're not trusted to do something, like if you miss a blitz pickup, if you miss in pass protection, if you do this drop, something here and there, you got to have ultimate confidence in your quarterback and in your coach. I mean, hell, I could be way off, and it could just be draft position, for Christ's sake. I don't know, but again, if you have a playmaker like that, every time he touches the ball, he's gaining. It seems like he's got to be averaging like 6 yards a carry. I swear to God, but it's like every time he touches the ball, he's making plays. Mm-hmm. So find a way to get him out there,
right?
And it will balance up the offense more. Like Jeremy said, I mean, they're just chucking the ball all over the place. It's like if they could really get a run-pass ratio, this offense might actually be dangerous. Right now, it's just disjointed because they keep shoving Jones on the bench and Rodgers is hurt and the right side of the line is, not playing very well. But I'll tell you this. Apparently, in past years, I was calling Davante Adams a jag. That guy's emerging. He's emerging into a hell of a player. I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I think we can. If I look at success of previous teams, and I always go back to the 90s Cowboys, what made them so great? They had a great quarterback, but they had a one of the best running backs at that time with Emmitt Smith. Obviously, Barry Sanders was head and heels above him, but you had Emmitt Smith, you had Michael Irvin, Jay Novacek, Dale Johnson, and Emmitt Smith. And Aikman. And
they had at least like two players on each side of the ball. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But on offense, you always had somebody that you could go to. And right now, you only have really one guy with Davante. And Graham had a great game last night. He, actually showed a little something last night. But you actually have a guy in the backfield that is very comparable as far as playmaking ability in Aaron Jones, and he gets 8 carries and 1 pass thrown his way. He played 19 snaps last night. 19 snaps. There was 81 snaps in the game. So that just absolutely mind boggles me. I'm a pretty simplistic dude, and when it comes to football, I'm putting my 11 best guys out there. My best running back, my best receiver, my best tight end, all my specialists are going to be the best player at that respective position. And Aaron Jones is sitting on the bench for 3/4 of the plays in a game. That just mind boggles me.
Yeah, I don't quite get it. Like you said, there may be something else behind the scenes. I don't know. I mean, another guy who, again, I apologize. I just don't remember much about this guy, but it's Josh Jones, 2nd round pick safety. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't remember a whole lot of him playing, but apparently he's a speed demon, but he's got a lot of issues with, I guess the other parts of football. A lot of speed, but the dynamics and the schematics and all that. Can you guys tell me a little bit about Josh Jones? Because apparently he has no chance of ever making the field.
Yeah, and it's a little unnerving for me because I don't get to see the practice, and everything that I hear that he's not doing in practice is the mental reps are just they're not coming through in his second year, and he's
making a lot of mistakes.
He's making a lot of mental mistakes, and I get that. But this is a guy throughout his career has been a playmaker, whether he was at NC State, which is where he played in college. The Packers drafted him in the 2nd round last year. I mean, he's been a playmaker his whole career, and he just needs to be put in positions to make plays. That's the problem with him. He's not a guy that can sit back like Derwin James and interpret the whole field and diagnose it and get an interception or a fumble. I mean, he's just not that type of player. But if you put him in position to make plays, he's truly dynamic. So that's concerning to me is the fact that he is not garnered the trust of the coaching staff because of all the mental mistakes that he makes in practice, because that does translate to the game. And when he has played, there have been holes in that game, Last year, he pretty much got thrown to the wolves, and in Capers' scheme, he was that that hybrid linebacker / safety guy. And teams took advantage of him last year, with a lot of play action and misdirection. Just it confused the hell out of Jones last year. So I don't know what to take of it. Is it something that he's just not going to be part of this equation here in Green Bay, or are they just sitting him back this year and saying, hey, dude, we're sorry we threw you out to the wolves last year. We need to give you more time, and make you into a better player at the NFL level because you have the talent, but you just haven't produced, and we need to give you time to develop to there.
Yeah, and the reason I bring him up too is, I mean, you look at our safety play, yuck. My goodness. I mean, every now and then, Clinton Dix will run into an interception, but him with Kentrell Bryce is, I'm telling you, every single time I watch any quarterback drop back and get ready to throw a deep pass, whether it's, Tom Brady or whoever the heck this 49ers second stringer was, which is that's disconcerting when a guy like that can rip you apart and throw bombs. But every time a quarterback drops back against us and is about to throw a deep pass, I'm like, that's getting completed. It just is.
And that's directly related to a lack of a pass rush and our safeties not being able to to cover over the top.
Mm-hmm.
The first touchdown last night to Marquise Goodwin, the 49ers receiver, I mean, it was an all-up blitz. And it was a one-on-one, and Bryce just kind of sat there. He thought about it way too long, and by the time he reacted, Goodwin, who's got world-class speed, runs like a 4.27 in the 40-yard dash, which is unbelievable.
Oh my God!
I mean, he's a burner. By the time he got past Bryce had no chance. So that's the thing. That's the thing with Bryce is that he needs to recognize that, hey, this guy is coming down the middle, wide open, full speed. I need to just backpedal and get there. And he did not do that on that first touchdown last night. And that's the problem with him is he just does not see the field and react quickly enough. And he doesn't have the makeup speed when he doesn't react quickly.
Sure. And he's a rookie, right?
Second year. He was an undrafted rookie last year.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of young guys on this team. I mean, as always, even with Gutekunst as a GM, I mean, they have a few, veterans peppered in there, but just not enough. And what's interesting about this offense, like I said, is that they had that really cool kind of dynamic. They had the stack bunch, they did the wheel route, they did the naked bootlegs. It looked really good, and we're working. And then the offense just kind of fell into a doldrum again, and it looked like what you'd seen the past few weeks, where it was like I don't think they converted a third down until like the fourth quarter, which again pretty weird. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but if it's third and long, say it's third and 10 or more, McCarthy gives up. He just gives up. He doesn't even bother to try and pick up a third down, a third and 10. And I'm like, with Aaron Rodgers, that's insane. Even if your offense is kind of stagnant or, you don't have the best playmakers in the world, that is unbelievable that you have any kind of give up. And that's what they do. They have a give-up play, essentially what it is,
Right. And if you watch any team against us and that's the problem with our offense right now is we're putting ourselves in third and long positions, and it makes it very difficult to convert those. Mm-hmm. But if you watch a lot of these defenses, they play pretty soft all the way up to the first down marker, and the underneath is wide open every single time. I don't understand why you're running go routes past the first down marker, when you should be running misdirection and crossing routes over the middle and confusing the defense and giving that defense a different look. And it would be successful if they would utilize that a lot more rather than just running go routes with everybody and expecting one of those guys to get open, because that's the problem with this offense is it's predicated on guys getting open. They're not getting open. So you gotta create a playbook that will be a little bit more dynamic rather than just relying on these guys to get open every single play, because we don't have that type of offense like we had in years past.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, they would, like even the 2010 Super Bowl or 2011, they had playmakers, so they could run all these burner go routes. Now, I'll look at some of the film, the next day, and it's not the all 22, but it's just clips and GIFs and whatnot on the internet. And some of these guys on the internet will show, they'll go, okay, here's, Rodgers rolling back, and they'll have a guy wide open, say 7 yards. It's 1st and 10, 7 yards going across the flat there. And Rodgers won't even be looking at him. He's got, to your point, he's going to that home run or just some kind of tight window. And that's something that's always seems to be in his career. And I don't know if that's Rodgers or, Rodgers McCarthy or just Rodgers or whatever. But there are some guys, again, they're not deep, but they're short, but they're open to the point where he's 7 yards down the field. There's nobody within 5 yards. He could turn that into 12 yards. And he's never really takes advantage of that, because he always does want the deep ball, which on some level, I guess, I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers, but when the offense is stagnant, man, you got to do some dinking and dunking,
Right. And I'm hoping this bye, provides him the opportunity to get healthy, because I really think he needs to practice every single week.
That's a good point. He's not practicing a lot.
Right. And even though he's the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion, he still needs to be out there. The mental reps, just going through, the practice and going through all the plays and stuff like that. You cannot touch going through plays over and over again, and how that translates into the game if you do that on a consistent basis. And right now he's just not doing that. So I think that's hurting him and then hurting this offense, that right now he's only practicing at 2 days a week. And he needs to practice every single day.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. So what do you think about this rookie? Or he's a rookie, or he's had 8 NFL starts. Man, he looked pretty good, but again, part of that problem is the pass rush. Is on this team, even with a blitz, is pretty much anemic. I'm trying to think. It's like you got Clay Matthews, who I made kind of a joke the other day. I go, Clay Matthews is going to be a Raider next year.
Mm-hmm.
He's past his prime. Did you see that play? It was either late in the third or in the fourth quarter where he ran to the sideline and he gave up.
He got smoked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He gave up. I mean, he just stopped and put his head down. That's when I literally said, okay, that's the play where that's going to make him a Raider. I couldn't believe that. That was just, I don't think I've ever seen Clay Matthews do that, because he's always a hair on fire, throw your body around or whatever. And he just, and that was kind of disconcerting to see. And he's not beating barely even backup tackles. And Nick Perry, he feels like he's in the wrong scheme. The guy's huge. He gets hurt a lot, but he's huge. He's strong. And I'm just kind of surprised that he can't do much on the other side. But to me, the guy just screams 4-3 defensive end, not 3-4 outside linebacker.
Right. In a Minnesota scheme, where Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter are just allowed to just come after the quarterback. That's what he needs to do. And he's not able to do that when he's a couple yards off of the tackle, outside of the tackle. He just doesn't have the speed to make a dynamic play besides a bull rush.
Yeah. And then, pardon my, what was the guy? Mike Daniels. I don't know what year he's in. He's got to be in his fourth or fifth year.
I think this is his 5th or 6th.
Okay. Love the guy, and he's kind of undersized, but I mean, he was a guy who could really bring it. I got to think he's kind of winded down a little bit. He does what he can, and I love the guy, but he's not doing a whole lot there. No,
and I wouldn't say that he's slowing down in any way, shape, or form. I just think that ever since Wilkerson's gone down, even when Wilkerson was healthy, that defensive line was definitely underperforming. They were not getting the pressure that everybody thought going into the season. So right now, Daniels and Clark are truly your only defensive linemen that you have to worry about. And teams are able to block Daniels a little bit easier just because of his size, his limitations. But he's playing hard and he's giving it his all.
Yeah, I never question his effort.
It's not for a lack of effort.
Yeah. Who was the other guy they were talking about? Was it Reggie Gilbert? Is that who I'm thinking of?
Right. And guess what? The interesting stat on him is he leads the team in quarterback hits with 5.
Lord. And I haven't seen much of anything with him though. Matthews is just kind of like, he just seems to be a guy. So that whole line is just, including the outside linebackers, are just kind of a guy. And the inside linebackers, I'm trying to think. The Packers just don't value that position, I think, which is not a very good, and the 3-4, because Martinez, they're like, yeah, he's good. Sorry, he's not much. I'm sorry. With my 2 eyes, I watch him. He's okay, but he's not like this. He's not this stud out there. And I saw some past footage the other day. I was looking at on YouTube on something, and I remember Jake Ryan, and I'm like, he's your prototypical Packers inside linebacker, the try-hard guy who just doesn't have the speed,
And that's Martinez in a shell right there.
Yeah, he's good at what he does, but his ceiling is not very high.
I would agree. But
AJ Hawk. Remember AJ Hawk?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can move on from that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when you only have Blake Martinez, it's very hard, or it's very easy for the offense to get alignment on him, because the defensive linemen just aren't sucking up blockers. So, and that's what makes the 3-4 succeed, is you have 3 down linemen that take on all 5 of those blockers and force you to double team the majority of them. We don't have the defensive lineman that can do that. So does that allow this 3-4 scheme to work without that? It truly doesn't, because that's what it requires. And it also requires two dynamic, or at least one, but I mean, two pretty good outside linebackers that can get to the quarterback. So none of that is currently
pressure is a problem with this team. Even when blitzing, they're not getting home. And if you're blitzing and not getting home, you're toast. You know,
this team has 18 sacks, which is actually 5th in the league. It's pretty respectable. But out of those 18 sacks, 11 of them have come on blitzes.
I believe that.
Blake Martinez has 3 sacks.
Interesting. Yeah, so we should probably move on a little bit to Mr. Rogers and his fourth quarter heroics. The guy is just, I don't know what to say about that. You know, the fourth quarter in Chicago, the 3 touchdowns, unbelievable. And then in this game, I think was it a touchdown then a field goal, I believe, but he throws a couple balls a game where he's the only quarterback in the league who could throw it. And I'm talking about, even you got this new guy in Kansas, or is it Kansas City? Is it Mahomes? Is that the guy?
Oh, yep.
And he looks the part, but he still, that guy can't make a few throws that Rodgers can. I think he threw a dart to Adams for a touchdown, just over the head, or just over the head or the shoulder of the I don't know if it was a cornerback or if it was a safety. I think it was a cornerback. That was that was in the late fourth quarter. Man alive, was that just a pass? He just zinged it right by his ear hole, just right in the spot. He had to jump to get it. And then that pass that he threw, was it to St. Brown on the sideline?
Oh God.
Oh my word. I mean, it was a fantastic catch. It was.
Right.
But he had to put it in a window that was like a foot by a foot, you know? I mean, it was just the placement was just unbelievable. And I think that might have been the first career catch for St. Brown. So, you know, good for him and Rodgers doing that. But God almighty, can that guy, he can sling it, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unbelievable.
And I guess that's why McCarthy decides to put the ball in his hands 70% of the plays.
Yeah, I get there's something to that, but what I don't get is if you could just get a little more run to pass ratio, I think that would really open up the offense. Right now, it's got to be, did you say it's basically like 70% to 30?
Right.
I mean, if you got it 60-40, you know, I think it would be unbelievable. Just that 10%, it would really keep teams honest.
It would, and that's I think that's the problem right now, is teams are able to pin their ears back and just come after us, because they know on first, second, and third down we're going to pass the ball and we're going to kill ourselves in those situations, because we're going to have a hold, or we're going to have an illegal formation or something just asinine that just kills us every single time. Where if you run the ball and get 4 yards on first down, a 2nd and 6 is a lot more manageable than a 2nd and 10 or a 2nd and 15.
No doubt.
Even if you run the ball again, let's say you get another 4 yards, 3rd and 2. I mean, your playbook opens up tremendously, because now you can decide, hey, do I feel confident that our run game can get 2 yards, or do I do a little play action and expect the defense to be sucking up on the run and just have a go route with Devontae Adams or Equanimeous St. Brown or Scantling and get a 60-yard touchdown? So it just opens you up for so much more. And that's really hurting us right now, is we're just not taking advantage of running backs, you know, specifically Aaron Jones, who should be getting the ball more and should be able to get 100 yards a game and really help this offense out. To give you a little perspective, the LA Rams have the best offense in the league currently.
I believe it.
They have Jared Goff as a Pro Bowl quarterback, and they also have Todd Gurley as a Pro Bowl running back. Their run to pass ratio is 55-45. They pass the ball 55% of the time, run the ball 45. And Gurley's leading the league in rushing. So even with the 55-45 mixture, they're still able to be productive. They're still able to average over 5 yards a carry. They have close to 1,000 yards. They have 9 touchdowns. They average 155 yards a game, and they have 0 fumbles on 183 rushes.
Look at the stats this guy's spouting off, Elliot. It's incredible.
I could go off. That was my little investigation of trying to bring out the positivity in things. Is I found a lot of positives in the stats.
And meanwhile, I'm over here going, I don't know this guy's name. Does he play for us?
Nice.
I'm just kidding. Oh man.
So I'm sorry, I was slightly distracted. It appears that YouTube is completely down, and which is super weird. Yeah, and I even went onto Twitter, and it's like trending that YouTube is down, because I wanted to make sure to give. I noticed that we had a comment on YouTube, or I don't know if it must have been today or yesterday or something, and so I wanted to give him a shout out, but I can't get there, so. So it's
and that's something. The one time we get a something going there,
it won't be the last time.
I know.
But the world is conspiring against me on this. Yeah.
Nice. I wonder, has that ever happened? Has YouTube ever just shut
I have never seen it be completely down. I'm sure it has for a very short time, but this is long enough that people are noticing and commenting. So, Anyway,
for those of you that comment on our page and on our podcast and whatever, we appreciate that, and we'll make sure that we get you into the next episode. Most definitely.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Speaking of stats, here's an interesting one though. So the Packers, I mean, realistically, they could be 5-1 based on what's happened. There was a horseshit call in the Viking game, I believe. And then, what was the other one? I read somewhere that basically, and the Viking game is obviously a tie. Oh, and then the Detroit game with all the freaking kicks.
Right.
I mean, they could easily be 5-1, but it's funny. Even if they were 5-1 versus 3-2-1 or whatever the heck they are now, I mean, the team's got a lot of holes. It does. It has a lot of holes and a lot of things that need to be looked at. And I will give Crosby credit for obviously redeeming himself, and doing it outside, not even in a dome. That's what was so weird the other week, was that
I know
Biff and all that in a dome. But hey, if he's back, he's back. I'll take that. So
I'd say they're about as good as their record right now. If they were 5-1, they would be they would have lucked into it.
Right.
I would agree with that.
Right.
They kind of are what they are right now. We are who we thought they were.
Now on the on the NFC side of things, they're right in there though. Like nobody's that great on the NFC.
Yeah, it is kind of watered down. I'll tell you, the next stretch of games they have is freaking brutal. I can't remember the exact who the opponent is, whatnot, but I know they're playing the Rams and they're playing the Patriots. Are they not?
The next two after the bye.
God have mercy.
The next 5 games are at the Rams, at the Patriots, and then host Miami, and then we go back on the road at Seattle and at Minnesota. So the next 5 games are tremendously difficult, and it will determine how our season goes.
They could easily be 1-4.
I'll be happy if they can get out 2-3. I will be very happy.
No doubt. I mean, I keep looking at that Patriot game. And
you won't be very happy if they're 2-3. If they're 3-2, I don't think any of us will be very happy. Like that's.
Yeah. I mean, who do you think? What's the record that wins the NFC North? You think?
10-6.
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if any of them will get there.
Are we tied with somebody for the
Bears?
The Bears. Okay.
But I think we have the tiebreaker because we beat them head to head. So technically, we're in first place.
Right.
Yep, I got you.
I think that's true.
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, just to shed some perspective with you guys, like I said, I was on a positivity search last night and today.
Sweet.
We talked about what's killing this team, the penalties and the mental mistakes and the lack of execution, but just purely stat-wise, this team is excelling. On offense, they are second in the league in total yards, second in passing yards, 16th with running yards, and the worst part of it is 24th of total points scored. That's what's really killing them is the execution inside the red zone.
They are.
Last night they were 3-6 in the red zone. I think that puts their total up to 11 for 22, so they're at 50% still. But So offensively, they're doing really well in between the 20s. The defense is even excelling. They're 11th in total yards, 9th in pass yards given up, 19th against the run, which I think that's where they're really killing themselves, and 25th in points given up. The worst part of the team right now is penalties. They have 49 for 467 yards, third worst in the league. Third down percentage, they're actually doing a lot better. They're at 40%, which is 7th in the league. Their defense is 9th in the league, giving up 36%. Giveaways, right now they have a +1 giveaway or takeaway to giveaway ratio. But what's killing them right now is 15 first downs from penalty given up to our opponents.
Good Lord.
That's an average of over 2.5 penalties per game given up by just being a dipshit. For lack of a better word.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, penalties, especially on special teams, are absolutely brutal. They're right now they are sloppy. That's for sure. They're very undisciplined. When you watch them when they get into a funk on offense, it's just like with Rodgers. It's like he'll be throwing balls that like they're not even anywhere near the guy. It's not like it's tipping off a guy's hand or whatever. It's just it's a breakdown between everything. The right side of the line is an issue right now. Anytime he snaps it, he's just under pressure immediately, mostly from the right side. So that doesn't allow, a guy to be at the right spot, or he's got to throw it early, or I don't know, or he's got all these young receivers. When he does have time and he's throwing a ball, you see some of these guys where they're not cutting tight, or they're just doing something where Rodgers is, he's had kind of I don't want to say an off year. Stat-wise, he's got a decent amount of stats, but like I said, I got two eyes. He's just above average when you look at him as just kind of the way he's playing. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, I would agree. And I attribute it to just being
he's hurt
and lacking the practice.
That's not helping.
Because statistically, they're excelling in most categories. First downs, they have 137 first downs as a team. Their opponents have 109. I mean, who would have thought that they had more first downs than their opponents? Because it seemed like, every other down that the opponent was getting a first down. So
I think the biggest thing to me that's like you said, that's costing them to get into bad situations on offense and execution is they get down in a game so easy. It seems like they are giving up a touchdown on the opening drive and all the time, and they get down 14-0 in a second is what it seems. And if you're down 14-0 in a second, even if you got Rodgers, it's like just to catch up, you got to chuck the ball all over the place. That's killing them.
It's killing them to the tune of being outscored 100-63 in the first half.
Yikes! Yeah, not surprising.
But that's concerning because
it's concerning. But
they come out of the gate and they are getting their asses whipped right out. And then that changes the whole game. Then you're playing behind the 8 ball the rest of the game, and you're not just, taking your time and incorporating the run into the offense. You're just consistently winning the ball around.
Yeah, I wonder, that may be the part, I'm not sure I agree with it, but that may be the reason why, they're just not getting Jones out there, because right, wrong, or indifferent, if you're down 14-0, you do have to chuck the ball, and McCarthy just might be screw it, or whatever. I don't know. But how about, shifting gears real quick, how about that interception by Bryce at the end when they threw the deep ball?
Honestly, I didn't see that. I think I turned I turned into the Brewer game at that point. So.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Because I'm telling you, when they threw the ball, Jeremy, I was like, oh shit, here we go. But
right?
he was on his hip, and he turned around at just the right time. And it was slightly underthrown, not a little bit, but slightly. It was a fantastic interception. So,
wait, are you talking about the King pick?
Oh, King. I got the wrong guy, I bet.
Okay.
I
did see that one.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm still learning.
I figured
these
that's
guys' names.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Is it Kevin King?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
No, that was a great play because it turned the game. And
yeah, I mean, that was a game-changing play that went our way, because when like I said, when he threw it, I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Exactly. I was doing the same exact thing. I was like, my wife was sitting there with me, and I said, what the hell? And she's like, they intercepted the ball. What the helling about? And I'm like, they actually have a turnover in a big part of the game. So I was shocked. But those are the plays that we need tremendously. We need those. We need more of those.
Yeah. And maybe they will come on more. I mean, that guy still got a ton of young guys. I'm trying to think. The veterans they picked up this offseason. Was Graham with us last season, or did we pick him up this season?
No, we
going into the season.
We picked him up at first day of free agency this year.
Nice. They need to incorporate him more. I mean, he's not. It's not like he's like the number one. He's not Gronkowski, but he needs to be incorporated more. I don't know.
Oh, he was getting open last night a lot.
And Rodgers wasn't even.
The linebackers were not even staying with him. So
I mean, I don't know why. Again, Rodgers wasn't even looking at him. Maybe he didn't have trust in him or whatever. I don't know. Maybe when he's starting to hone in on guys. But what other free agents did they bring in this year outside of Graham?
Outside of Graham, they brought in Muhammad Wilkerson on the first.
Oh, and he hurt himself, yeah.
And then he hurt his ankle and was out for the year.
That sounds like it might be career ending. They said it was like it really tore up his ankle. He had like 2 surgeries.
Yeah, I actually saw a picture of his ankle. I don't know where. I think it was Twitter. I saw it, and I mean his ankle looked mangled. I mean he had his sock on. It was all red. And I'm not going to say anything more than that because it was really gross.
Nice, yuck. So Wilkerson,
Graham, Mercedes Lewis, the tight end, previously with Jacksonville. He signed during the middle of the summer. Jacksonville cut him. And then he was able to make his way here. And actually last night he played the most snaps he's played in any game this year, 22 snaps. So they're hopefully incorporating him more as well, mostly as a blocker because that's his strength.
Okay.
But, where he can be dynamic is in the red zone on play action.
Nice. And who is that tight end? Again, my memories are kind of fuzzy, but Jared Cook, they had him a couple of years ago, right?
Oh yeah, I firmly believe that Ted Thompson bungled that whole deal and then brought in Martellus Bennett. We all know how that went.
Martellus Bennett, he was from the Chicago,
New England at the time.
Okay,
but he did play in Chicago. He started out in Dallas, played in Chicago for about 5-6 years, went to New England.
He didn't want to pay Jared Cook, is what you're saying, Ted.
The rumor was that he didn't want to pay him a larger signing bonus, which is what Cook wanted. And in the end, when they signed Martellus Bennett, it was a larger signing bonus than what they would have given Jared Cook.
Just okay, whatever.
But those are all rumors. I can't confirm any of that, but those are just.
But it sounds like I mean everybody. It was, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but they should have kept him, even if there was the Mercedes Lewis's out there or whatnot. Because I remember he had that tiptoeing pass on the sideline. That's what got him to the NFC Championship, right?
Against Dallas. Yeah, that was a gorgeous catch and a gorgeous throw by Rodgers. 30 yards thrown thrown away from his body. It was unbelievable.
I do remember that play.
That's a good play to remember.
Yeah, it's an all-timer right there, buddy.
Right.
But, yeah. Alrighty, so now we're going into the bye, so we get healed up, and hopefully they make. I mean, McCarthy always says, we're going to look at this, we're going to look at that, and we're going to make. I'm trying to think of the last time they made some significant changes in anything. I mean, I think personally, it's like the offense. To your point, the offense is it's struggling because the defense they're in a hole right away. If they could. And that gets them into this mode where it's chuck, throw the football, and they can't even be, somewhat balanced with the run. But I mean, the defense is who it is. Give me one playmaker on the defense. I mean, give me one.
Yeah. I will shed some positivity on this. In 2016, I think it was the 10th week of the season, and we went to Washington, and we just got our asses spanked. We were 4-6, and everybody was calling for Mike McCarthy and Ted Thompson to go. We won the last 6 games, got into the playoffs, and then that was the year that Rodgers threw the pass to Jared Cook against Dallas in the divisional before we made it to the NFC Championship. So I feel pretty good that hopefully McCarthy can get this team on that path again. He's done it in the past. He's done it many years.
He always seems like a slow starter, and then they finish strong. That seems to be the way it goes.
Right. And I think this bye couldn't have come at a better time. Number one, obviously, to get this team healthy, which they've been healthier than in years past overall. But number two, prepare for these next 2 road games, which are going to be vitally important. I mean, if they could come out 1-1, it doesn't matter which game they win, but if they could win one of those games, that gives us a lot of hope that, hey, this team could be turning the corner and we could be watching this team just kind of take off from here.
But, and it's Rams and then New England.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. We want it to be the Rams because they're in the NFC, but I'll take New England if they, meaning if you win one, you want to win against the Rams, but if you win against New England, hey, that's one I'll take too. But yeah.
I mean, if I could see when I watched the Minnesota game when they played them on, was it Sunday night or Monday night? I mean, both those defenses are supposed to be the best in the league, and they gave up like a total of 80 points that game. I mean, if we could get into a shootout and just get the ball in our hands at the last possession.
No shit, right?
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I hope that's what they're planning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that should be doable. Why not?
Anything's possible.
So, you guys have any other comments on the Rams game?
The Rams game. I don't know anything about the Rams, to be honest. Now, who's their coach?
Sean McVay.
Yeah, I gotta imagine he's one of these younger, more innovative coaches, kind of like Shanahan. Is it Shanahan and 49ers?
Yeah. I think McVay is 32, 33 years old. He's just they're taking
a lot of college schemes, and they're using a lot of schemes. They got good players, but man, McCarthy's offense just looks like a dinosaur.
But the Rams are aggressive. I don't know if you watched last week's or saw any highlights from the Rams last week against Seattle. 4th and 1 on it was right around midfield. I think it was like at the 40-yard line. It was in Seattle's territory.
Mm-hmm.
And in the majority of scenarios, most teams would have punted because the game was tied. And you don't want to not get that 4th down and give the ball back to Seattle. Mm-hmm. They have to get 10 yards and kick the game-winning field goal. They went for it on 4th and 1. Quarterback sneak with Jared Goff, 1st down. And I mean, the team just lit up. And those are the kind of plays that if you instill that confidence in that team, they will ride and they will soar just because of the fact that the coach is giving them a lot of confidence by saying, you know what, I trust you guys are going to get this, because if we don't, we're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
That just stood out to me, is his aggressiveness and his willingness to take a huge chance in a very important time of the game. And this team is scary in that respect because there's not a lot that can stop them. They have 3 very, very good wide receivers. They have a Pro Bowl running back. They have Jared Goff, and they have a decent offensive line. And their defensive line so far has underperformed with Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, who came over in free agency this offseason.
Ndamukong Suh, that's right.
Yes. So, their defense has not played very well thus far. But that offense is just lighting teams up. They're very scary.
Speaking of 4th and 1, didn't the Packers go for 4th and 1 against the 49ers, and then Rodgers got sacked?
Yes.
God,
it was still the right call.
Yeah, agreed.
I like being aggressive, but when you get sacked on something like that, it just feels like you're not even.
Doesn't matter.
Lack of execution. That's all it was. It wasn't anything but besides lack of execution.
Yeah.
So, if you guys don't have any other comments about the Rams game, I was thinking that for this next week, for the bye week, that unless you guys want a week off, if we could potentially do a call-in episode with some, and I think you still have some T-shirts. Maybe we could do some giveaways.
I do.
Some stickers or some T-shirts.
I got
that
some
kind of
stickers.
thing.
Yeah, I got some stickers and some T-shirts.
So here's what I think. We can give maybe a sticker to everybody who sends something in that we read, and then we pick the best one. We send them a T-shirt. something like that.
I'm good with that. I'll have to check the
Nice.
inventory, but I do have
Yeah.
some stuff. Yeah.
And if we don't get enough people, then I have plenty of questions that I'll have at you guys.
And I'll shift all the inventory to you.
So
Nice. No, it's a good idea. I'd like that.
yeah. So I think that's
Yeah.
fun. I'll try to add the call-in number to the end of this. I'll record it and I'll try to make sure it's in the notes.
Cool.
Yeah, and I mean, otherwise people can they can email us or whatever. I'll get that info in there.
It's a good idea. I like that. I'm down.
So I don't know if you guys got anything else.
I don't. I do know that I have to put my daughter to bed.
Yeah, I know we were kind of bumping up against your time limit.
It's okay. It's okay.
Well,
Yeah.
let me put this out there. To call us and leave a voicemail, our
Yeah.
number is 508-535-5468. Please leave a message and we'll get back to you and respond to every request that we hear.
Nice.
Awesome. Wow, that's
Good job, bud.
dedication.
I barely remember my own phone number. Look at this guy. Good. No, that's nice. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
Good idea.
so that's all good. I'm gonna try to get this edited and get it out. So yeah, if you guys don't have anything else, we can go Pack Go.
Yep. Go Pack Go. Nicely
Go Pack
done,
Go.
everybody. Good stuff.
Hey guys, this is Elliot. We are going to have just a little giveaway. Please send in your sound clips of any questions or comments that you have. Email that in, fans@absolutepacker.com. Otherwise, just call. That number is 508-535-5468. Leave a voicemail there. Thanks for listening.
Podcast.
I know, right?